What's up, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video, we're talking the Rugby Championship and the possibility of the bulk of this tournament moving over to the Northern Hemisphere. That's something we didn't think we would have heard about. According to RugbyPass, SANZAAR are weighing up shifting the Rugby Championship to Europe for the remainder of the competition following the Springboks match with Argentina this weekend. 4 double headers are tentatively being planned for Paris, London, Dublin and Cardiff. The lingering impacts of the pandemic forced an unusual scheduling setup for 2021, with 5 matches planned for New Zealand, 5 for Australia, and 2 for South Africa. That draw was contingent on an ongoing travel corridor between Australia and New Zealand, however, which shut earlier this month due to the flare-up in New South Wales. 4 of the 5 matches in New Zealand were expected to be relocated to Western Australia until earlier this week when the coronavirus re-emerged in New Zealand. Australia has since closed any quarantine-free travel between the 2 neighbouring nations, which would make it exceptionally difficult for the competition to continue under the current circumstance or current schedule. As the All Blacks are currently still at home in New Zealand, and their next Glasgow clash with the Wallabies is due to be played in just 9 days. Limited stadium availability in Australia would also make it difficult to stage the major matches over the consecutive weeks, with Queensland currently playing host to the NRL and AFL matches already potentially being lined up for Perth Stadium. Currently, it's possible to travel from New Zealand and Australia to the UK via Singapore without isolating required upon arrival in Europe, making the continent a potentially perfect host for the Rugby Championship. Double headers in the major centres of Europe loom as incredibly tantalising for the respective SANZAAR unions from a commercial point of view, and with the wider populations of the nations set to be involved, already predominantly vaccinated. Full crowds would be expected for the games, massive bonus. In particular, the first game between the All Blacks and South Africa will mark the 100th match between the 2 proud nations, and would likely draw plenty of attention from fans across Europe. You're damn right. The relocation would mark the second time that the Tri-Nations or Rugby Championship match had been played outside the SANZAAR countries. In 2016, the Pumas hosted the Wallabies at Twickenham, with Australia prevailing 33-21. In 2011, following the Christchurch earthquakes, a Super Rugby game between the Crusaders and the Sharks was played also at Twickenham. With the first round of the Australian-based portion of the Rugby Championship scheduled for next weekend, SANZAAR are expected to make an announcement regarding plans for the remaining matches of this year's Rugby Championship competition shortly. I honestly think it's a great idea. I want to see the tournament happen. I know it's unfortunate that we're not going to see it in the respective nations of New Zealand and Australia, but think of this way. You still got a great tournament. You still got a full crowd, which is going to bring the electricity to the players. The players are still going to make money. They're going to earn their respective salaries, which is so needed. The franchises or the rugby nations are going to capitalise. Obviously, the stadiums will capitalise too, which is unfortunate for the home ground ones. But you know what? At the end of the day, I want to see rugby. I want to see the 100th game, which is going to be the greatest game ever, and I think you do too. So for me personally, I think this is a great alternative. There are phenomenal stadiums over in Europe. Cardiff, Dublin, Twickenham, come on. Who's going to argue with those beautiful things? I'd gladly move over there. It's unfortunately the only thing we can really do at the moment because of this bloody pandemic. And you can't bring it to South Africa because we can't have crowds. The guys can't travel to us because of the restrictions and all that stuff. So go via Singapore, make it to Europe, and go play overseas. I think it's a great opportunity. And the fact that we get crowds is what I want to see. I don't see this boring emptiness of a stadium where I can hear the players shouting, and I can hear the side boys shouting, and the water boys like Rusty Rasmus shouting. I want to hear the crowds. I want to hear the singing. I want to hear the passion. Because we all know, in those respective countries where these games will be hosted, there are bound to be Australians, South Africans, Argentines, New Zealanders in the bloody stadium. So it's going to be massive. It's going to be electric. It's a great opportunity to advertise Southern Hemisphere rugby up in the north, to excite fans, to say, hey, bring them here more often. And vice versa for the north to move south, so we can at least play the global game that Bill Beaumont's been talking about for how many years, but has not once produced in the game of rugby. Again, just my thoughts. But anyway, I think it's a great move. I think it's going to be good for rugby. I think we need it for rugby, and I think credit to whoever thought of it. And I think SANZAAR, SA Rugby, Argentina Rugby Board, Rugby Australia, and New Zealand Rugby need to give it the green light, and they need to give the green light now so we can start moving and get the boys over there. As soon as South Africa and Argentina are done, get your stuff ready, get your bubbles in order, and fly overseas so we can get rugby going. It's going to be a cracking guys. You've got no quarantine, you've got no rules. Go overseas, finish the tournament, do it the way we can do it, and let's hope we can get some cracking rugby. I think it's a great idea. That's just my thoughts. That's going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys soon for another one. Please join me for SA versus Argentina's live stream. I'll leave it in the links up below. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe and never give up. Cheers.